Johnson, why are you naked?
Because my t-shirt sucks.
Hello, everybody. It is good to be back. Thank you for joining another live stream. It's been a while. There's a lot to talk about, clearly. Let me know how everything is sounding in the chat. Let me know how the audio is. Let me know if anything needs to be fixed. So let me just go over the stories that we're going to talk about today. So, of course, we're going to talk about this recent incident in the Canadian Parliament where part of the Zelensky's world tour to beg for more weapons and money to continue this proxy war against a nuclear country. One of his stops was the Canadian Parliament, where they had a literal fucking Nazi come, and the entire Parliament was cheering, applauding, and giving him praises, calling him a hero. Somebody who was literally serving as a Nazi in World War II fight, and the reason why is, of course, because they were fighting Russia. And it's just the latest incident where we keep hearing from the mainstream media and the politicians supporting this war that there isn't a real Nazi problem in Ukraine, yet every time you turn around, somebody's praising Ukrainian Nazis. You see pictures of Nazi symbolism in the military, Nazi tattoos on soldiers, and of course you have like the Azov battalion and other factions of the military and government that are literal, unapologetic Nazis. So this, like I said, just the latest chapter in the Ukrainian Nazis that are being normalized, apparently. Also, we're going to talk about the Matt Gaetz situation, where he forced out the Speaker of the House using the exact tactics that you and me, Jimmy Dore, and Brianna Joy Gray, people at Revolutionary Blackout Network, a lot of people were advocating for back when Democrats got control of the House in the middle of COVID, and we were demanding that they force a floor vote on Medicare for all before any discussion of voting to seat Nancy Pelosi, because they did have that leverage at that time. So Matt Gaetz actually did it. First person, well, he did force a vote earlier this year and got a bunch of concessions in order to seat the speaker. And now he used one of those concessions, which was to force out the Speaker of the House for the first time in history, railing against corruption and railing against business as usual in Washington, D.C., which is it's just a bizarre turn of events, because for a very long time we were hearing that, oh, you have to support the Democrats because of the lesser two evils. But the irony is, the person who is, and let me be clear, Matt Gaetz, disagree with him on plenty policy, but it's ironic that he's the one fighting the establishment more than anybody else in Congress. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But I'm going to lead with this. Before I get into the first story, I want to say shout out to Ashura, who's in the chat. Miss you. Glad to see you back. And I do appreciate everybody else the regulars who come in and watch the live stream and comment. I'll get to your comments. We could have a conversation about the topics. But I'm going to start with the first story, which is, I've been doing this show and making content for a couple years, and I can say without a doubt, I have not gotten as much pushback on any single topic, no matter how controversial and no matter how much I've gone out on a limb and be like one of the first people to make a point or to stick by a point. I have never got as much pushback as I have covering this story. Now, I haven't posted much on YouTube. A lot going on, and I'm not going to get into all my personal drama right now. But the last video that I posted was about this UFO topic. There's a whistleblower, David Rush. He's an investigator who was part of a task force that was supposed to investigate and find out what the government knows about UFOs and report it back to Congress. In his investigation, he spoke to 40 witnesses who work directly in these UFO crash retrieval programs, and they're telling him that the U.S. has intact, functioning UFOs and the bodies of aliens, and this created a whole series of events, public hearing, a big public hearing, and the response from the audience is actually kind of telling. So I'm going to get into the first story that I'm going to talk about in this live stream, which is an article that I wrote on my Substack, which I will link in the description box. I don't think I've put it in there yet, but I will for the video. So, like I just mentioned about this overall topic, this whistleblower comes out, makes bombshell claims. Honestly, this would be the biggest story of our lifetime, arguably in human history, if it's confirmed that the U.S. government actually has intact, functioning UFOs. So, part of the issue with this story and why it's getting so much pushback is because the heavy layer of secrecy that's prevents people from talking about this issue under a new concept. This isn't a new concept. This is so for people in my audience who are familiar with other whistleblowers, people who have um, released damning information about from within the Department of Defense and the national security state, exposing different war crimes and just crimes in general of the national security state. Even though the information that they have is in the public interest to know, and they have a right to know, and the government has no right to keep this information from us. And the entire reason that it's classified and protected is because the people who are guilty of the crimes also get to hide it behind the secrecy. So we see how what happens, like in the case of Chelsea Manning, Chelsea Manning brought well, first of all, through her work in the army, she came across thousands and thousands of documents, highly classified documents that unequivocally expose U.S. war crimes. Videos of our military murdering civilians, documents where they deliberately undercount the civilian death tolls, and things like that. Chelsea Manning came across this information, was alarmed by it, and thought the public needs to know. Brought it to WikiLeaks, brought it to Julian Assange. They published the information, and she immediately became a target for the national security state. They hunted her down, arrested her, put her in prison, and was charged under the Espionage Act. They would have done the same thing with Edward Snowden had he not left the country. Charge him under the Espionage Act because yes, the information that he had exposed crimes to the government and exposed things that the public had a right to know, but because of the way the Espionage Act is written and interpreted in courts, none of that matters. It's simply the fact that you publish information that the government has classified is the justification they use to prosecute a whistleblower. So that's of course I don't think that's correct. That is not me supporting that line of logic from the Justice Department. That's just the reality of what it is. That being said, now we have whistleblowers coming out exposing the crimes again of the national security state. And this time it's not the typical war crimes, it's a giant decades-long cover-up and money laundering, possibility of murders and disappearances, kidnapping, just all these things that are related to this secret program and crash retrieval program and reverse engineering program. So the issue has been David Rush, who was the whistleblower, the investigator, who collected all this evidence, did the interviews with the 40 witnesses, collected documents, classified documents, videos, photographs, proving the existence of this program. He has all of this. He can't just go, if he were to just go to a journalist or go to Twitter and publish it online, he's going to prison. There's no two ways about it. They will lock him up and they will prosecute him and they will put him in prison just like they did Chelsea Manning. Knowing that, him and his lawyers have tried to use public pressure and going through official channels in order to get this information to the public and avoid going to prison. It is the tightest of tight ropes to walk. And if you're familiar with the way that the Espionage Act is abused and the classification system in this country is abused, it is only, and if you're aware of human nature, which is to take the path of least resistance, it is not unreasonable for you to do everything you can when you find information like this to try to get it to the public without going to prison. That being said, the only way that information can be made public is through either if Congress declassifies it or if the President of the United States declassifies it. Only way this information is public. That being said, the process is already ongoing. He's already been through and I'm not going to get too much into that story because that's separate. So the point of what I've done and what I've tried to do, and I've dedicated hundreds of hours since the story came out into researching this topic, is okay. So I can't get the exact details that he has until Congress declassifies it. So he's given them the locations of the bases, the people in charge of the program, people working in the program, and all of these things, how the program's funded and all this stuff. I can't see that, so I can't verify his claims directly in that way until, like I said, the information is declassified. So what I can do, and what I have been doing, is to see how I can corroborate this story without that classified information. And for me, I found that going through what were previously classified and now have been declassified government documents related to UFOs are some of the best ways to do it. Because, and like I've pointed out in this article that I wrote, I'm using documents from the 1940s, the 1950s, the 1960s, where there are detailed, in-depth investigations by multiple departments within the government, multiple agencies, the highest level scientists and oh, it looks like the stream was disconnected. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me just make sure everything is working okay. Alright, we're still going. So, like I said, I'm going through reports from decades ago. So, this, in my mind, gets around this whole idea of this is just a government psyop and this is just a distraction to take people's attention away from Ukraine or from whatever the fuck people are coming up with to say that this is a psyop and this is just all made up. So the reason why I'm going through these documents is because, like I said, there needs to be something there to corroborate the story, and this is, for what I found, is the best way to do it. Alright, so I'm going to go to this report. So, I believe it was 1949. There was a meeting at Los Alamos Laboratories, the Department of Energy laboratory. They had some of the top scientists from the Department of Energy, people who just were working on the nuclear weapons program. So they just, like Dr. Edward Teller, just was working on creating nuclear-powered missiles. He was part of this meeting. There were Navy commanders and commanders of nuclear bases and Navy nuclear bases. And this is a theme that's recurrent in this article, which is that there's a well-documented history going back from the 40s of UFOs appearing at nuclear installations, it being recorded, being seen by eyewitnesses, recorded by um, equipment, sensory equipment, radar, and multiple radars, and in some cases by fighter jets that are sent to intercept them. So, and it's not just one incident. This was this specific meeting that was being held at Los Alamos in the 1949. What they were tasked with doing was, like I said, there's already been a long string of UFO reports at the most secured military facilities in the entire country, and it's been going on for years at this point. And so they were tasked with and going through reports, incident reports from not just any random person who were reporting in UFOs at the time, people working security at these nuclear bases, the commanders at these bases, scientists who work at these facilities, and Air Force pilots whose jets were sent out to intercept these UFOs. So they have well over 100 reports that they were analyzing, which included the shape of the craft, the witnesses, the amount of witnesses who've seen them, their expertise in identifying what would be like a typical, normal sighting that you would see in the sky, whether it be a meteor or plane. It also, so the reports listed their credibility in discerning whether or not it's something natural or man-made. And so they had all the data that you could possibly have. Everybody in this meeting had clearance because of the sensitive information that they had. So the summary of the report was, and because in the report they have the direct quotes of the meeting. So you have Edward Teller, who, like I said, was just working on the highest classified weapons program in the world at the time, the nuclear weapons program. And his role in the meeting was to analyze the data, analyze the incident reports that they were given, and with his expertise to determine whether or not the sightings were secret weapons programs from within the United States, or if it was technology from one of our adversaries at the time, at the end of the Cold War. I mean, at the end of the World War II and the beginning of the Cold War. So he did his mathematical analysis of how fast the objects were moving, the distance that they were covering, and the shapes and propulsion and all those things. His analysis at the end of the meeting was, and the official summary of the meeting was, after Edward Teller's findings, there's no way that these UFOs that are cited are from a secret weapons program in the United States or any other country in the world. That was the official finding. Also, there was Dr. La Paz, who was present at the meeting. His area of expertise, he's known as one of the pioneers in studying meteorites or studying meteors. And his role in the meeting was to rule out the possibility that all of these sightings could have been just meteors that people were misidentified. Again, he analyzed the data, broke it down, had his mathematical analysis of, and I in the article I have the a link to the full report and the quotes that are relevant and all those things. But Dr. LaPaz says that analyzing it, the direction and the trajectory and the movement of these UFOs that were seen around these nuclear installations. Again, not one incident, not two incidents, in multiple different locations by multiple people, multiple different times, and like I said, picked up by radar. His analysis is there's no way that these are all meteorites, and he himself had a incident at one of these bases where he saw it, and he specifically said, "This, what I saw, there was no way that could possibly be a meteor, and any similar incident with similar features of a UFO, there's no way that could possibly be a meteor." And again, so you have all of these people in a secret meeting that was never meant to be made public, doing everything they can to explain this away with some sort of natural or man-made explanation, and they literally cannot do that. And that was the findings of the report. And then the very next year, the Air Force orders that report and every single copy of the report to be destroyed. That the order was given. Again, it was an official order, and I have the document. Because that was declassified too. The destruction order of the official report. I have both of them, the official report and the destruction order from the Air Force. And again, if this is going back to the 1940s and the 1950s, and you guys and everybody's right now so sure that this discussion is just a psyop and a distraction, okay, so please explain to me this report from the 40s, and if it was just bullshit, if it was just a psyop, and again, too much detail, and in a meeting that was secret and was never meant to be made public, please explain to me how it is that that's just made up, and then it's a psyop, and then the Air Force unsuccessfully orders that report destroyed. Why would they do that if there's nothing to it? If it's just a big distraction made for 2023, why would they order the report destroyed? And me and you and everybody in my audience knows how incompetent our government is. And we know, and we've seen what it looks like when they try to pull some bullshit over on us, and they try to do a psyop, and they try to convince us of some bullshit and try to tell us not to believe our lying eyes, and it's not convincing. How well is it working? The whole we didn't blow up the Nord Stream pipeline thing. It's not convincing anybody. It's not convincing me. It's not convincing people in my audience who follow the lies of our government. It's not convincing to us. So, and it's very sloppy, and it's easy to see through with enough context. Again, so it strains credulity to me that they were cooking up this psyop from way back in 1949. So again, this is just the beginning of the article. So it goes on, and I'm going to actually give you share a quote with you. Now this is from a letter that was sent to, and this is completely separate from the meeting that I just spoke about. This was about an incident at another nuclear facility. This was a letter that was sent to FBI headquarters to somebody who later became for you here. All right, so like I said, this is from another incident. This is from 1957, and This was a letter that was sent on September 24th, and it's specifically talking about incident that occurred on September 20th of that year. And the subject of the letter was, quote, unidentified flying objects reported on September 20th, 1957. All right, so in the letter, here's a quote from the letter. Quote, radar stations at Montauk Point, Long Island, New York, and Benton, Pennsylvania, detected an unidentified object proceeding in a westward direction with an altitude of 50,000 feet and a speed of 2,000 knots, approximately 2,300 miles per hour, on September 20th, 1957. This was a letter sent to somebody at FBI headquarters that was marked urgent. All right, this is about the same incident. Let me make that quote a little bit larger so you all can see it. All right, so the intelligence the Intelligence Advisory Committee evaluation of this report reflected that, quote, it is highly improbable that a Soviet operation is responsible for the unidentified flying object reports of September 20th. And the letter continues, quote, the radar pickups now reflect speed variations in the object's course ranging from 1,500 miles per hour to 4,500 miles per hour. This latter speed is improbable according to U.S. scientific theory for any type of flying object which this could conceivably be. Again, things that none of our known technology is capable of doing. Again, so this is clearly something. Hold on, give me one moment. The live stream keeps cutting out. So, and then, let me get to. And so the article continues with even more incidents. There's another one where 5 people at a base see this object, this UFO that's they say is just a few meters in front of them. They see it changing shape, and multiple people at different points in this sighting, which is about 10 minutes long or longer, are seeing this object, and it's at the same time there's strange radar readings from multiple different radar stations in the area, and then at a certain point radar stations from New York all the way to Chicago are jammed along the flight path of this object. So again, it's just, how many times do these well-documented incidents have to happen before people see that, okay, maybe there's something to it? Like, this isn't just all bullshit. And so one of the most bizarre and incidents is the Maelstrom UFO incident, where security at the base, the person in charge of security at the base, they see these objects in the sky. They call the commander of the base, panicking, asking what to do, and within minutes, the nuclear weapons at the base all go offline, which is unprecedented, never happened before. If say one missile were to go offline, that alone would be an issue and they would deal with it or whatever. But to have all of them go off at the same time, and they're all on different power supplies. So, if one of them was having an issue, that's one thing. But all of these segregated, isolated nuclear weapons all having the same problem at the same exact time while there's a UFO sighting. And again, this Maelstrom incident happened in the 60s, I think. So this is after all of the multiple reports of UFOs at nuclear bases. And then you have this one where, again, you have UFO sightings by multiple people. And then the nuclear weapons go offline. 10 nuclear weapons go offline in the middle of the Cold War. So if the President of the United States ordered a nuclear strike, they couldn't even launch weapons. So that's how serious the incident was. And they did investigations into the staff to see if any of them could have been possible, like responsible for it. They had people from Boeing who installed the system come and do their check. Nobody could find what could possibly make all of the nuclear weapons at a base go offline. And it was offline, I think the commander said, for a day or longer. So that was the article that I wrote on this. I've written a few articles already on this. There's historic UFO legislation that's being debated right now that's going to be put into the National Defense Authorization Act, where and I'll get into that in a separate video. But again, you have the legislation, you have the whistleblowers, multiple whistleblowers, you have the decades of documents, and I swear to you, I'm not even what I've just went over isn't even scratching the surface of crash retrieval programs and reverse engineering programs. This is I haven't even touched the Roswell incident and the sworn legal affidavits of people who were in the military who said, I was told to lie about what they found in Roswell, that the official story that they've changed about 3-4 times is not what actually happened. There was a UFO crash, and there was bodies of some non-human intelligence. Sworn affidavits from sergeants in the military, sworn affidavits from, I believe it was like the secretary or the stenographer. What people are saying they saw is what actually happened. So the amount of official documents going back decades on this topic is undeniable. So we're at this point where, like I said, and like I'm sure many of you have seen yourself, there is just this air of denial, and nobody even want to touch this topic. And everybody's so convinced that this is bullshit and this is psyop. And it's like, no matter what evidence you present people, the photographs, the videos, the documents, the whistleblower testimony, the legislation that Congress is writing, the historic UFO legislation that Congress is writing right now. And it's just water off a duck's back. And it's bizarre to me because I know these very same people will use those same type of sources to validate other stories that they agree with. So, people use official government documents all the time, and it's good enough when you are like proving war crimes, and with the Afghanistan war logs and the Iraq war logs and the Afghanistan papers, government documents are now that they're worth a damn, and we can use that to evaluate the issue. But now, when it comes to UFOs, you use government documents to prove that, hey, there's something going on here, Ah, it's bullshit. Ah, it's a psyop. Ah, they just made it up. Like, it's just a complete, like, cognitive dissonance. And it's really bizarre. I've taken so much shit from it. I've had, if you follow me on Twitter, you've seen me going back and forth with Caitlin Johnston and even bombshell claims from whistleblowers exposing the crimes of government. They don't want to hear this. Everybody is so sure, without doing a drop of fucking research, everybody is so sure that they are right, that on what could be the biggest story of our lifetime, that they don't even feel the need to have to, one, do serious research on it and then present it in a serious way to their audience. And like I said, it's just mind blowing to me that this people's position, in the face of all this evidence, do the research, and it becomes very hard to remain in the position that there are no UFOs, or this current discussion of this topic is just fabricated psyop to distract people. I mean, I've debunked that in videos, I've debunked that in articles. It's such a stale point, and it's honestly, to believe that there is nothing to this, and to believe that this is all just a psyop and government distraction, you'd have to believe in a conspiracy theory that has even less evidence than the possibility of a UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering program. Because there's way more evidence of that than there is this is all some big government psyop and distraction to throw everybody off or something like that. So I'm going to keep covering this story because, like I said, this could be the big story in human history. The government corruption angle of it. You have basically a shadow government, which we all know exists to some level with the national security state, but on this level would be mind-bending, where you have a whole shadow government assassinating people to keep the secret, locking people up, kidnapping them. The government corruption angle of it, and keeping it from Congress and from some presidents, the government corruption angle of it all is huge. And then the possibility that there is intelligent life, way more intelligent than us, not only just out in the universe, here on this planet interacting with us, with technology that is way beyond anything that we can possibly come up with at this point. That, again, is a gigantic story. And then what it all means going forward. Because at the center of all of this is the technology that's our government knows exists and is hiding from us, if this story is true. So, and the real core of it is free, renewable energy, for unlimited renewable energy for everybody. And if that's what is at the center of this, if that is one of the things that's being hidden from people, it would literally change the world. End poverty, and the grip that the fossil fuel industry has on the world, and the entire military industrial complex and the war machine, because they go hand in hand. So, and so all of those things combined, like I said, give it the possibility that this is the biggest story in human history. And the amount of evidence that's there going back decades. Like I said, to ignore this story, I think anybody who's in the independent media who's ignoring this story is doing you a disservice, because they're gonna sit here and talk about how like the military-industrial complex out of control in Ukraine and Syria, all over the world, and they're risking nuclear annihilation over bullshit, over money. At the same time, these people are going to talk about the poverty in the United States and around the world is out of control, and it's so bad, and we need to do something urgently about it. These same people will talk about those stories and go round and round in circles and talk, and we all, and I'm in this space too, so we all see how bad this shit is. And the options that we have are so few and so slim and so limited. And shit is getting so, especially with Ukraine, so bad, so fast, and you have the possibility of nuclear annihilation. And you then a story like this drops and has the possibility of upending everything and turning everything around, and people won't even give the story the time of day, and that is so bizarre to me, and that I would just never wrap my mind around it. So that's the article that I wrote. I'll link it in the description box. You all let me know what you think in the description. I mean, in the comments section. You all know I read all the comments. If you want to help support the show, the links are in the description box. Links are pinned in the live chat to Cash App. So PayPal, if you want to sign up for Patreon and support monthly. I greatly appreciate all the people who even just share the content, watch the videos, comment. I appreciate everybody and everything that y'all do to keep this channel going. Alright, so I am trying to get into the chat. The issue is this live stream was being weird, so hold on. I think I got something. Because I'm seeing a lot of good comments. Well, I did see a lot of good comments, and now it's just stuck and I can't really scroll up. So just give me one moment. I'm trying to figure something out. Alright. I think I can see more comments here. David Warsher, boy, I should not even try that last name, says, "What a wonderful surprise! Glad to see you around, mate. I am glad to be back. Glad you're here too." Where Pilgrim says, "Hey everybody." Chris H says, "Unapologetic, not to be offensive, but is it possible that you could change the channel name? Because when I search for you, the results always turn up light skin Candace Owens 2.0. Yeah. I seen that, and fuck no, I'm not changing the name of my channel because I picked the name of this channel for a specific reason. It fits this channel, and I had it first. And I remember when that, I'm not call any names, but when PragerU person picked that name for that channel, my channel was already had 5,000 subscribers, and already the top of the search results. And because it's PragerU and backed by fucking corporate money, conservative corporate money, that shit just gets a bunch of suggestions and it's like blows up in the algorithm and shit like that. But no, I'm not changing my name over that shit, and I'm annoyed by that actually. American Autopsy says, "Yo, bro, I'm trying to have you on my channel to talk about this." I haven't done an interview in a while. I can try to figure something out because if somebody else wants to talk about it, why not? Saul Thibault says, "Just got on, glad to see you back." Saul also says, "Also, how is it an alien civilization is able to travel the stars, but somehow always ends up crashing their spacecraft when it comes to coming to Earth?" Let me address this question because it's such a weird point that people are sticking on. I don't know how their fucking ships work, and I don't know what can possibly interfere with them here to make them crash. Maybe it's them. Maybe it malfunction. Maybe it's being shot down. Maybe it's like I have no idea what it can possibly be. But the idea that people can ask this question as if it just like undercuts the entire discussion. Oh, you have all those documents? Oh, there's all these videos? Oh, you have 40 whistleblowers who are working in these UFO crash retrieval programs. But can you? It really isn't. It's just none of us know anything about the technology. None of us would know anything about what would make them crash. It's just another question that needs to be answered. It really doesn't disprove anything. Let's see. Give me one moment. There was some other comments. Something else from. Alright, I don't know where the comment went. I think the best term is non-human intelligence because we don't really know where they come from or whatever. If they were here, there's no way that the government can hide it from us. Well, there have been incidents that are well documented that just aren't publicized and that they actively try to cover up. Like I said, if you actually do research into this topic, you see that just under the corporate media is just a lapdog to the government, and then also just literally disappearing witnesses, bribing witnesses, threatening witnesses, some cases murdering witnesses. So even with all of that, like I said, if you decide for yourself, I'm going to look into this, you're going to find some incidents of crash landings and landings of UFOs that are well documented. One of them is the Virginia incident in Brazil. In Brazil in the 90s, and a bunch of people throughout the town seen it. Somebody saw the ship, the craft crashed in the field. Many people saw it like as it was falling from the sky. Some people, a man went and saw. Witnesses say they saw an alien running through the street. There was allegedly one of the military police grabbed it, brought it to the hospital, and they did all types of tests on it. That same military police officer ended up dying with some weird infection. During the autopsy, they tested his blood, and there was some toxin in his blood that they could not identify. So, and then the Air Force, the U.S. Air Force got involved, and the whole cover-up happened. But again, that's a well-documented incident. So, you may not have heard of it, but that doesn't mean there aren't incidents. And like I said, that's just one. You have the Roswell incident. There are different incidents of crashes and people, many people seeing them, and then the government coming in to cover it up. So I don't think that. And again, you have decades of people speaking out against this. People who've worked in the program, like I think Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who was originally on Project Blue Book, which is a operation that the government had to basically try to discredit UFO sightings as all just meteors, birds, planes, and things that are natural and human made. And through the operation, they were going through all the reports, and Dr. J. Allen. So I'm not. like this whole, there are multiple trails of evidence you could follow. So Saul, do you just not like? What would it take to not even convince you, but like, so like all of this evidence that I'm bringing up, it's just water off a duck's back. None of that is real. You're very like you're just staying with this point that is a psyop, and you have absolutely nothing to prove that. Where is your evidence that this is a psyop? You don't have any. You just saying it because you haven't done any research. So I think that's a very lazy position. And until you do your own research, I mean, I'm, and this is another thing. I'm very willing to have a debate with anybody. I've been begging the loudest critics to debate me, have a conversation with me, not just throw out, oh, this is a psyop and this is the end of the conversation because you have nothing else to add. No, if you think this is a psyop, gather all your evidence, gather all of the documents and the emails and the meetings and the witnesses who are in these meetings. Gather all of that up, and then you come and tell me, make that case to me that this is a psyop, and at the same time, I want you to specifically, line by line, item by item, go by the evidence that I'm presenting and debunk every single piece of them. Debunk every one of them. Because nobody has been able to do that, and that's what's getting me so upset about this story. Everybody's short psyop, no one can debunk it. You all had no issue debunking Russiagate. And this is I've had multiple back and forths with Caitlin Johnson about this. You had no issue debunking Russiagate. You had no issue debunking the COVID narrative and the vaccine bullshit. Because there was evidence to prove that. But nobody has evidence that this is a psyop, but everybody is so sure that it is. And has refused to have an open mind that maybe they should do more research. Not even that they're wrong, but hey, maybe I should do some more research. And it's honestly, it's very annoying. And okay, so you believe that extraterrestrials exist in the universe. Okay, so let's stop right there. You believe that extraterrestrials are real. So then why now? And if you believe it's real, you have to believe that the government has known about it and has been covering it up for decades. So then why now, in this unprecedented moment, this historic moment, where you can once and for all prove the biggest question in human existence. One, why are we here? And two, are we alone in the universe? You can prove all of them right now with the stars aligning in this very moment, where you have 40 whistleblowers working on these programs, testifying to Congress, testifying to the Inspector General, and starting official investigations. Why are you so convinced it's bullshit? And instead of even looking into it a little bit, it's so weird to me. But then you go on to say that I'm just skeptical about the government coming out with this kind of news now while the world burns. I mean, again, this is just a weird reaction and a completely separate standard that people do not have on any other issue. On any other issue. There's no other... When the Ukraine war... Like, who are you to decide that this one issue... Yes, there's a lot of big issues going on right now. But this last one, it's just one too many. COVID was a real big issue, and it was real. And the government mishandling of it was real. The Ukraine war, that's real. Nobody's saying, oh, this is a fake war. This is just a fake war to distract everybody. Nobody's saying that. The economic crises that we have in this country, the healthcare crises, all of these are big issues. And at no point does anybody say, you know what, this last one, I don't think we should be, this is all just a distraction. I don't think we should talk about it because there's so many things going on right now that there's no way this last big thing can be real. despite all the evidence, just because the sheer amount of things that are going on right now, I decide that, you know what? I think there's too many real things going on, and anything after this has to be fake. That is just a standard that does not apply to any other topic. Anthony Tillerman, Anthony Tillman. Good to see you in the chat, as always. Always love to see you in the comment section too. Glad you could catch the live stream. But, and here's the thing. I'm going to end this discussion on this topic right here for this live stream. I'm going to keep talking about this story because, like I said, nobody to this point has been able to debunk a single thing about this story. Not a single fucking thing about this story. And furthermore, onto that, nobody has been able to prove, nobody has shown a shred of evidence that this is a psyop. So until then, I'm going to trust the hundreds and hundreds of hours that I've put into research on this topic. I've done more, and this is something that none of you will see because I haven't made content on it as much. And part of that is because the weight of this issue, I had to make sure I got it right before I even opened my mouth about it. Or at least that it wasn't complete bullshit before I opened my mouth about it. So I know there is enough there to cover this story, so I'm going to keep covering this story. And I don't care how much shit I take from my audience, because I've taken a lot of shit from it. And I don't care how much shit I take from the different content creators, because you know what? When I've done this show, at no point when I've done this, from the time me doing this show, have I ever made content based off of like what my audience thinks is important. It has always been what I found that's evolved my thinking and has progressed my thinking, that's changed my thinking. That big things that nobody else are talking about, that nobody else has put together yet. And I will go out on a limb on it. I don't care if anybody else is talking about it. Before this whole left infighting thing happened, that left infighting thing, who was one of the first people calling bullshit on Kyle Kulinski, calling bullshit on Bernie Sanders, calling bullshit on AOC in this independent media space? It was me. And when I first did it, do you think I knew my audience was gonna support it and they were all gonna be on the same page? No, I didn't. Did I think all the content creators that were in this space that were already I was already working with and they were using some of my work, did I think that they would automatically be on the same page as me when I went from supporting Bernie Sanders to supporting AOC to saying, wait a minute, look at the evidence. They are full of shit and they're just as establishment as everybody else. That was such a going out on a limb moment. And I did it anyway, and I kept doing it, and now everybody else is doing it. So, frankly, I don't give a shit if anybody in my audience is, again, I'm willing to engage anybody who can make a cogent, coherent argument to prove me wrong. But honestly, I don't give a shit if anybody's gonna come out here and tell me I'm wrong without addressing all of the research that I've done. So I'm gonna keep making content on it. I've written articles about it, a few articles already. I'm gonna keep writing articles about it, and we'll see. Time will prove who is right and who is wrong. And I have a history on this channel, and you all know I'm not a bragger, but I have a history on this channel, especially once I have taken the time to do the research on any given issue, where hold on, give me one moment, guys. I said I was done, but I seen some lengthy comments, and y'all know me. I'm gonna get into it because I'm not. Y'all know me, and you know I'm not afraid of a fight. So somebody has something to say to respond. Okay, let's have it. All right, RJ Ramrod, good to see you in the chat. It says, I'm definitely willing to believe the U.S. government is covering up the fact that UFOs are real. But I don't see that there's anything we can do about it except resist its use as a distraction. Again, so I'm going to keep bringing it up because it's an issue that keeps rearing its head on this very specific wars. So wars been raging on for decades, endless genocide for profit, weapons manufacturers, war machine making trillions of dollars off of it. Hey man, I don't know what we can. I don't think we can do anything about it. So what we're gonna do? We'll just shrug our shoulders. You can do that about anything. And if that's the case, then why the fuck would I do my show? Because all these issues are huge. All these issues I can't tell you to line by line, step by step. How do we solve this healthcare crisis in this country, where the rot and the corruption is so deep? How do I tell you line by line how to fix that? It's very easy to shrug your shoulders and say, hey man, I'm not going to do any research on it. I'm not going to look at it one way or the other. The government's big and bad, so hey man, I'm gonna let them do what they want on this issue. Like, that's just never how I've done this show. It's never how anybody on the left, anybody who's challenges power, has ever gone about any issue. But again, on this very specific issue, double standards, and everybody else could just make shit up on it. I don't know. Saul says, bro, I grew up on Star Trek, and I want to travel stars like the next internet nerd, but I'm more concerned about economic needs of working people than UFOs. Again, so like this idea that because there's important issues, nobody else can talk about anything else. It's such a, again, double standard. Where there's a lot of poor people and hungry people. I don't see people saying this shit to Whitney Webb when she does her investigations into Jeffrey Epstein and Leslie Wexner and the World Economic Forum. Nobody's saying anything about that. Nobody's saying, oh, what people are hungry here, people need a living wage here, people need healthcare here. Whitney Webb, why are you writing about Jeffrey Epstein? Nobody says that. Nobody says that. But again, on this issue, nobody can talk about it because there's other things going on. Okay. And Chris H says, I kind of see what Saul is saying. The government is more desperate to stop Snowden and Assange, and now people are testifying about UFOs, and the government is leaving them alone, and UFOs is a bigger issue. Well, again, this is something that people are saying because they have not done research into this topic. To say that the government is leaving David Grush alone is just ignoring all of the facts. First of all, part of his official, there was two parts of his official complaint to the Inspector General's office. First was the complaint after his investigation, after he collected the evidence, after he spoke to the 40 witnesses in the program. He gave a complaint to the Inspector General saying there's an illegal government program being hidden from Congress and you need to do an investigation into it. That's first part of the complaint that he brought to the Inspector General. And then the second part of the complaint that he brought to the Inspector General was a complaint of reprisals. Because during his investigation, when he was talking to witnesses, inexplicably, he was on the team that made the president's daily briefing, and he walked to the White House. And yet, inexplicably, while he's doing this investigation, he has his security clearances revoked, and he has to fight to get them back. So that was part of the complaint, was the complaint of reprisals, and both of those complaints, the Inspector General investigated them, had his team speak to witnesses and people involved, and there was and it forwarded both of them to Congress and to the Director of National Intelligence, and said they were both urgent and credible complaints. And then the complaint about the reprisals was unclassified, and that was published, and I have gone about published it on my Substack too. So in the complaint, I mean the report, the inspector general says that there were inexplicable retaliation to Rush for his investigation. So the idea that the government's just letting him ride free isn't true. And then just weeks ago, after he testified to Congress, slimy ass Ken Klippenstein at The Intercept, he admits that his sources in intelligence and the Department of Defense came to him with dirt on Rush about past incident where he was arrested and has PTSD and has a drinking problem. And then Ken Klippenstein went and published a hit piece with the information that he says he got from his anonymous sources in intelligence. So they're trying to smear him. They're digging up dirt to smear him, giving it to journalists to smear him. What part of a psyop is that? And then, so he's clearly facing retaliation. And in his testimony, when he was testifying in Congress, he says that when he was asked about what has anybody been murdered to cover up this secret program, he says during his investigation he found evidence that he's brought to the necessary authorities that people have possibly been murdered to cover this up. So the idea that the government is just letting this fly, again, you're just ignorant on the topic and you haven't done the research. And furthermore, the cover-up is going on even past David Grush. So even members of Congress are fighting with generals, naming generals in the Air Force who are withholding evidence from members of Congress in the Oversight Committee who are demanding videos and documents of U.S. Air Force pilots who have encountered UFOs multiple times while they're flying U.S. jets. They have the evidence. The Pentagon has the evidence. Congress is trying to get that evidence, and they are actively blocking Congress. And there's a fight right now going on between Congress, members of Congress, and commanders of military bases in the Pentagon in general. So again, the idea that this is all just some coordinated disinformation and psyop is, again, ignoring all of the evidence. Saul says, asking me to prove this. Saul says, again, asking me to prove this is all a psyop is like asking me to prove that I know for a fact the CIA killed Kennedy. No, actually it isn't. Because, first of all, there's plenty of evidence to suggest that the CIA played a role in JFK's assassination. Hard evidence. Plenty of hard evidence and inexplicable coincidence circumstantial evidence that you can make the case that the CIA assassinated JFK, and plenty of people have done it. Unlike this issue, nobody has presented a shred of evidence that this is a psyop, but yet this is it's the default position as if it's been proven already. People can make the case that Kennedy was assassinated by the CIA. Nobody has even presented, like I said, I've been begging somebody to debunk this. I've gone to all of the Russiagate debunkers. I've gone to all of the COVID debunkers to debunk this. Nobody can do it. Nobody can show it to me. Nobody can make that case to me. So Anthony Tillman says, I think Saul was just trying to say we want to see you talk about other things also, such as new media's worship of Cornell West. Look, I'm not saying that I'm never going to talk about any of those other issues. What I'm saying is this specific moment is unprecedented. And it's not a this is not a trivial issue. So, and I've already stated how many ways that not TYT, not Kyle Kalinske, not Breaking Points really, Brianna Joy Gray at the Hill, okay, but sometimes she's not so great. So all of this entire new media apparatus, and this I'm just talking about people who are like around this circle, do dissidents. They're not talking about it. So we're in this space on this topic, and I'm supposed to talk about it a lot less so I can cover something that other people are already covering. I mean, I don't think that's where the urgency lies for me at this moment. And it's not me saying this is more important than that. What I'm saying is there's absolutely nobody in electoral politics, which you already know I'm going to shit on the whole thing anyway. So if I have to take time away from doing that to talk about another giant story, I'm going to do it because I can't do everything else at one time. I'm one fucking person. I do the research, I put the stories together, I come on and do the make the content, or I write the content. I have to share it. I am one person, and if I have to prioritize this story because nobody else is doing it, so be it. Like I said, nobody's on Whitney Webb's ass for covering Jeffrey Epstein when all this other shit is going on. Nobody's on Max Blumenthal's ass for mostly covering Ukraine and not talking about the war in Yemen. So everybody has the things that they cover most, or more than anybody else, especially the journalists who have set themselves apart and on research on a specific topic. So if this is what it has to be on this topic, like I said, it's important. I've done more research than anybody else in this space. And if I have to cover it more than anybody else, then that's what it is. Anthony Tillman says, I'll be the first to admit I'm no alien expert, but my skepticism personally is, what is the motive for intelligent aliens to teach humans? Why travel so far? Such benevolent reasons? I don't know though. Again, this is something that I don't know either. I don't know their motives. Some might be, from what I've learned, some are good, some are bad. I don't know what there's plenty of different theories about why they're here, and their motives, and how long they've been here, and all those things. And some might even go back to the origins of the human species. I don't know, but it's questions that people should ask, and I don't think we're going to get an answer until we figure out what's going on with this specific crash retrieval program and the reverse engineering program. Because if anybody has answers to what's going on, they would have it more than anybody else. So I appreciate all the questions. I have the questions too, and I want answers myself. But I am specifically focused on this issue of crash retrievals because that's where the evidence is. RJ Ramon says, like, I've seen enough shit to convince me that there's something going on, but something going on that we can't explain with our current understanding of science. I'm fully on board. I just don't know what we can do about it. I don't know what we can do about it either. And I'm not saying like, oh, we get to the we find the answers and we find out that this is real and this is actually happening and the phenomenon is real, and everything is just puppies and rainbows and everything just it gets infinitely better after that. I don't know what happens after that. I don't know how to fix the literal shadow government with a shadow military that's operating in the United States if this story is true. I don't know what to do about that. I don't know what to do about the fact that there's non-human intelligence interacting with this planet. I don't know what to do about that. The Open says West fucked up going independent. He might as well just quit already. Yeah, the whole thing has been a shit show, and like I said, I'm following these things. At the same time, I'm following this UFO story, and at the same time, I'm trying to live, like, stay alive, keep myself alive, my own personal things, and there have been some times where I really felt like coming out and just blasting, just and giving my thoughts on like all the different things that are going on. But what I've realized is, eventually somebody makes they've made a point close to what I was going to make. Nobody has really fully articulated my thoughts on this entire process, but ultimately it just all of it becomes insignificant. Like the whole Marianne Williamson thing, it was big at the time and it was like a big deal. Who the fuck's talking about Marianne Williamson anymore? Nobody. So it's like, okay, yeah, I can just equally divide my time between doing that shit and doing this other thing. But like that shit, like all of that shit is just fading out and becoming irrelevant. The specifically the way that new media is covering this whole electoral politics thing right now. Yeah. All right, y'all. I have two more stories. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I was not expecting to be an hour and 30 minutes in and stuck on the first story. I'm going to have to call it. Guess what? I will be back tomorrow. We will finish the rest of the stories we have for the live stream. If anybody has any other comments, feel free to let me know. Speak now. It was a very lively debate. I appreciated it. There were some, I would say, frequently asked questions that I needed to address and I would like to have on the channel, so I appreciated all the back and forth in the live chat. Help that get out. So, like I said, I'm going to continue to cover this story. Some of you will see the value in it. And another reason, I'll just end on this, another reason why I'm covering it is, so say that this whole thing does blow up, and then Congress does declassify David Rush investigation, and all of the whistleblowers' testimony all becomes declassified, and everybody's talking about the bases and the location of the craft and the bodies and all those things. Imagine the fucking head spin in this space when, and especially among the audience, when nobody was talking about it. This story was building and developing for months, and then nobody took it upon themselves to even touch this subject seriously. So that's part of the reason why I'm talking about it, because for me, when I first started to accept this story, that there's a lot of validity to it. And I was interested in UFOs years ago, but like many of you, I got to the point where it's like, okay, so what the fuck am I supposed to do about this? And there was no real traction, and it was, so that was something that I shelved a long time ago. But now, like, kind of like accepting the reality that there is to this topic. It is a shocking experience, and it will make you stay up at night, and you will lose sleep at night, and it will change the way you see a lot of things, your entire being and your entire perception of reality. And that's what this topic will do when it really blows up. And I would like to at least give you all the information so you can be aware of what's going on, and you don't just have somebody bust you over the fucking head one day and pull out the fucking crap and the 40 witnesses and everything becomes declassified and your head explodes. So like I said, appreciate you all coming into the live stream. Great to be back. I will have to come back and finish the stories because a lot going on, a lot to talk about on this topic and other topics like I mentioned before. So I will see you all again soon.